Peace and greetings. Presenting the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, providing in-depth information on society and culture in America and abroad, bringing you truth messages of inspiration, keen insight, reputable interviews, and so much more. So now, for the truth you've been waiting for, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast, Aura, the informationalist.
Yes, peace and greetings, people. This is Or the Informationalist, and you're now tuned in to the Network of Awareness podcast radio show. And today is October 27th, and it's approximately 9:56 a.m. that I'm recording this episode. Now, some of you are wondering what happened. I had some technical difficulties with my system overheating because I forgot to turn on the fans. They keep everything cool because I have a lot of things running. So what I did was I wound up deleting the last episode that I did. And I'm going to do it over again, better than I did it before. Plus, I was rushing because I had an interview. Now, for some of you that don't know, I was interviewed on the Curiosity Chamber podcast with Jay Barone. So what I'll do is, for those that have been asking about where do they find the podcast. Now, I would suggest that you go to, I believe, Spotify or Apple Podcasts to check out the podcast because it's not on Spreaker. It's called the Curiosity Chamber Podcast. I will put a link into the description box for anybody that wants to take a listen to that episode that I was on. And I had a good time. We talked about a lot of different things. And shout outs to Jay Barone because the brother's doing his thing, man. So love to support my fellow podcasters that are speaking some truth and have some quality information to share. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, I want to welcome you to the Sugar Coated Society Part 1. I'm going to talk about the United Shenanigans of America and how it's very much sugar-coated with a lot of bullshit. And now with midterm elections up here, also with the Yay West propaganda, which I'm going to get into because a lot of people, especially so-called black and brown people, are really getting super excited about how he's speaking this truth and how everybody is now censoring him and he's going to possibly lose all his wealth. And boy, is that so far from the truth. We're going to talk about a couple other things, and I'm also going to bring up some news topics, relevant news topics in the beginning of this broadcast. So let's get it started and not waste no more time here, baby. Let's go.
All right. The informationalist.
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness.
Welcome to today's show, and let's get it started because I'm going to bring out some current events, and let's start off with the first one that it seems to be in a lot of people's mind. Now, just to let y'all know, I don't like talking about celebrity, but I'm only talking about this to bring about some awareness to what's really going on here, opposed to what some of you may think is going on here, because a lot of people are thinking that Kanye West is now suddenly woke because he's talking about the Hebrews, the true Jews of antiquity, being the melanated people, okay? Not the Negro people, not the black people, but the melanated people, the children, the true children of Israel, all right? People, I cannot urge enough and really stress enough how important it is to not go along with the social constructs that we've been given, because that is the very demonic divide that has been happening for many years, and people have to wake up to realize that there is no such thing as color. Colors are code for deception, and I'm going to do a whole show about that. It's going to be called Virtue, Interest, and Principle, VIP. see. All right. This black, white, yellow, red color code that the European fake scientists came up with in the 1700s. It's all for white racism supremacy, which is not supreme at all, but that's where it came from. It came from a deep-rooted sense of insecurity to validate something that didn't exist. But yet, a lot of you people are still sticking to this. There is no such thing as black people. There is no such thing as white people. There is no such thing as brown. But because we've been fed this illusion for so long, people gravitate to it and think that it's actually real. But the only place that it's really real is within your mind, because in reality, it's not. So speaking of this, let's get right into this article that I pulled up here in regards to how it says that no longer a billionaire. In just 2 weeks, Kanye West loses it all in his money. That's not true. Kanye West got a shitload of money still. All right. But let's read this article, because I'm going to tell you something, people. This man is a clone, number one. And if you don't believe in cloning, that's fine. The truth is out there already. I mean, they actually have cloning labs that you can go visit and go to open houses and actually purchase one for millions of dollars. All right. If you don't believe me, go do the research. Also, this man sold his soul a long time ago to Satan. All right. So he has definitely gone to the dark side and he hasn't left. All right. And he is so conceited and so egotistical. It is really disgusting. What's interesting is that the clone that they have of him hasn't lost that ego where he's one of the third best or fourth writers in the world. Now, musical genius. Yeah, I would say that. I would say to a certain degree, he is a musical genius. I think that he is super musically talented, but that's where it starts and that's where it stops and that's where it ends. Okay. But he's also a very insecure, thirsty for attention man. And to me, that's one of the lowest individuals possible. And also, let's not forget that he's married to a witch by the name of Kim Kardashian. Let's also not forget the fact that he's still rubbing elbows with a lot of these Luciferians. Okay. So this is all propaganda, please. This is all controlled opposition. Okay. And I'm going to have to do a show about this because that's what he represents. He represents controlled opposition. He is no different than an Alex Jones. The only difference between him and Alex Jones is that he has a lot more money and a lot more influence because of his celebrity status. But that's it. That's all. That's where it ends. So let's go into this article to see the latest, greatest propaganda pimping. It says Kanye West, as Adidas ended its 250 million euros partnership with Kanye West, the rapper, lost billionaire status as well. It says Kanye West has lost his talent representation, deals with major fashion houses and relationships in the music industry in the past 2 weeks following anti-blank and anti-Semitic comments. As Adidas ended its 250 million euros partnership with Kanye West on Tuesday, the rapper lost his billionaire status as well, The Guardian reported. As of Tuesday, Kanye West was no longer featured on Forbes' billionaires list, okay? It also says Elon Musk and Kanye West had a chat. The topic was Twitter and tweet. Now, it also says that problems began for Kanye West, who calls himself Ye, when the family of George Floyd announced plans to sue him over comments he made. Several also called out Kanye West for harassment of his ex-wife, Kim Kardashian, as well as former boyfriend comedian, her former boyfriend comedian, Pete Davidson. Wow, former already. He's a former boyfriend. So listen, you know what's crazy is number one, you gotta be an idiot to marry a woman that has been with so many different men in the industry. I mean, these women are spirit suckers or psychic vampires for men. They suck the energy out of men and then they make a ton of money doing it and actually showing you it on their reality TV show. But the fact that you would get with a woman that's been around that much, if I would have known in advance, that the woman that I was with was being around so much, I probably would have never got with her. But this man knew. Kim Kardashian has a history of being a hoe, and she literally came into prominence in the media, in the industry by being a hoe. And she hasn't stopped, people. And let's not forget the fact that these women are the major contributors to the fake body revolution that many women now have subscribed to, where they're getting, fat pumped out their stomach into their asses and into their breasts and so on and so forth, and the Botox into the lips and face and cheeks, and it's disgusting, man. These synthetic women is really unattractive because I'm telling you, people, if you was to see them naked, trust me, all that stuff has to be maintained, and it's not gonna look well when they get older. You ever seen those women that have had plastic surgery? These celebrity women that have had plastic surgery and they're older and they're still doing it. They look like damn mannequin. They look like freak shows. But hey, to each his own, right? So it says that, and also too, the fact that she went with Pete Davidson is like, okay. Anyway, Kanye West also received widespread criticism for t-shirts he presented at Paris Fashion Week that featured the slogan "White White Lives Matter. And this is why I don't understand how 1 minute he's doing that and the next minute a bunch of black people are now supporting him because he says that black people are the real Jews. It's just crazy. But hey, this is the sugar-coated society, the dumbed-down society that I've talked about since I first started this show over 2 years ago. This is the sugar-coated society. Everybody likes to hear what sounds good in their ear. I'm going to say it again. Everybody likes to hear what sounds good to their ears. All right? Everybody here. For the most part, not everybody. Let me rephrase that. Most people in American society like to hear what sounds good in their ears. That's it. And that's what this sugar-coated society is all about. And it's a hyper sensitivity too, you know, and that's a big problem here. Everybody's sensitive. Just give me 1 second here. Yeah. I'm just making sure I write that down because this is what it's about. This is what it's about. Everybody likes to hear what sounds good to their ears. Ain't that the truth? So let's continue going into this latest, greatest propaganda, right? And that is that it says Kanye West received widespread criticism for his t-shirts about the White Lives Matter, and he publicly insulted Black Vogue fashion editor, prompting magazine to issue a statement saying that they will no longer work with him, right? It also says that Black Lives Matter, Kanye West, and a shirt, the controversy explained. It says talent agency CAA Kanye West dropped Kanye West, and he is no longer signed to Def Jam, the production company that he was long associated with. Although Kanye West is not new to controversy, it looks like now he has lost his all. People, I'm going to tell you something. This is a bunch of bullshit, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Kanye West by the time we reach January of next year of 2023, because I have this intuitive feeling based upon what I know and what I've seen, and I know that the track record of these people, that this is all propaganda. This is all to create, you know, massive distractions. And it just doesn't surprise me that so many people are subscribing to this bullshit, especially melanated brothers and sisters, because they really got y'all stuck, man. They really got you people stuck on this race shit. And that's going to be a lot of people's downfall when it comes to spirituality, because there's a lot of people pushing that, not realizing that the true children of Israel, it's a spiritual thing, okay? Because the bloodlines have been mixed up all which ways. And I mean, if you look at it, the bloodlines have been mixed for so many centuries. So for people to subscribe and say, oh, I'm a Hebrew Jew, it's like, really? Okay, we'll see. We're going to see. Because to be a child of Israel, it's a spiritual thing. And number one, you better be deeply rooted into the word of the Most High, if you even consider yourself to be. There's a lot of people subscribing to this just because of the color of their skin or the complexion or the color of their complexion, all right? And there's a lot of people pushing that, and that's why they get so much support, because they know how to sensationalize what people are going to gravitate to because of the oppression here against melanated people and throughout the world. But as the scripture says, that the children of Israel that will be called back to Israel are scattered on all four corners of the planet, and that many of those children are from Egypt, from Ethiopia, from Assyria, like the scriptures describe, and from the lands off the sea, off the coast of the sea, like the Caribbean, like Puerto Rico, like Dominican Republic, like Cuba, like Haiti, and the Bahamas, and all of that. They are the children of Israel too, because if you go back into the archives, one of the reasons why Christopher Columbus sailed to these places, because he knew exactly where he was going to, because he wanted to find more of the lost tribes that spread from West Africa down into these different rivers. All right. So I know for a fact that where my family comes from is from Hebrews. All right. And it's all well documented. So a lot of these people that are pumping this propaganda to you, especially when they use the word Negro, and people don't even realize that Negro is a social construct that was created by the people of Spain. All right. Because they were melanated people. They were called Moors. They were called Hebrews. They came from different tribes and nations. All right. They were melanated people. This thing of color never existed, people, ever until the 1700s. Keep that in mind. You see, people just like to go with what's present. And what you have to understand about the United Shenanigans of America is that it's all been a legacy, a long legacy of lies that we've been subscribing to and believing in and giving life to and making it part of our reality. And that's something that we need to stop doing. We need to start seeing things with our spiritual eyes instead of with the cardinal eye, because the cardinal eye is always going to reflect back to this bullshit idea of race and these social constructs. And I'm better than this one and that one. You know, when the human potential has proven that all human beings have great potential. All right. But one thing that the scriptures talks about is the responsibility of the children of Israel spread this word of the Most High with the rest of the nation. And that's why I do what I do. And I know that there's a lot of haters that I have, but I really don't give a shit, because because at the end of the day, I got a lot of people that they got a lot of love for me, and I got a very close-knit circle. And that circle that I have has got even closer now based on some of the things that I've experienced this year. And one thing I'm grateful for that has happened to me this year is that I've experienced a lot of shitty people this year. I've experienced a lot of fake people. And because of that, it's just made me spiritually stronger so that for this coming year, it's going to be so much better than it was this year, because now I've awakened to certain weaknesses that I've had, like not setting boundaries and things like that. So it's just going to help me out greatly. And I know that many of you people that listen to my show are going through the same thing this year. This year's been a year of adversity, but of major growth mentally, physically, and most importantly, spiritually. So like I said, I'm going to talk about some current events. Now, because I live in the Tampa Bay area, I want to give some information to all my Florida listeners from the South. All right. And we're going to talk about some things that are happening here. So I'm going to pull up so there's been some major concerns here, people, when it comes to, this is interesting. So check this out. Listen, I think that the Tampa Police Department is one of the shittiest police departments ever. I had an experience with them in regards to when my daughter had ran away from home, and not one of those, officers was willing to help. One thing that I did like is that this was years ago. This is when I lived in Hillsborough County in Brandon, Florida. And one thing I realized is that the sheriff's department, man, for the most part, I'm not a big law enforcement guy. Like, I have respect for certain officers that show respect and handle themselves accordingly. But for the most part, most of them are just, very egotistical, fragile egos, pieces of shit, in my opinion. But this is what I talk about, the sugar-coated society, where censorship and liberalism is on a fucking rise, people. It is insane. It says a 22-year Tampa police officer resigned after using homophobic slurs during arrest. It says the officer resigned during Tampa Police Department internal affairs investigation. It says a longtime veteran of the Tampa Police Department used homophobic slurs while arresting a person 2 years ago, and an internal investigations found. At a meeting last night, Tampa Police Citizen Review Board revealed that in December of 2020, TPD officer Brian Perry used homophobic language while making an arrest at Walmart. What the officer said was awful, said CRB member Lincoln Tamoyo during the meeting. Says the CRB member confirmed to Creative Loading Tampa Bay that Perry used a homophobic slur that commonly refers to as the F word. So he basically said the F word. You know what he said? He said fuck. And then the officer also called the person F ass. So he probably said a faggot ass, and repeated the slur multiple times during the arrest. Now you notice how they're saying the F word, and this is the manipulation of the United Shenanigans of America, where it's like, now listen, when it comes to the disrespect towards so-called black and brown people of that social construct, melanated people, the N word and the S word have been used profusely, and nothing has been made of it to where it's been put into law that you can't say it because you could go to jail. But yet with the Alphabet Gang, all these laws have been passed. But I guess one of the major reasons why they never passed a law about saying the N word towards melanated people, I've been called a sand nigger plenty of times. I thought it was funny. But it's one of those things where if they was to outlaw and make it illegal like they've done with the F word, the music industry, as far as hip hop, they would have a lot of problems, wouldn't they? So of course they're not going to do that, right? Because propaganda stays pimping here in the United Shenanigans of America. But also, it says that another officer reported Perry's language, and he resigned in January of 2021 in the midst of an internal affairs investigation into this incident. The internal affairs found that Perry was complicit in discriminatory conduct and found that he also violated rules about professional responsibility and philosophy of law enforcement. It says that internal affairs also sustained these violations against Perry after the investigation, who had already left the department. The CRB agreed unanimously with the internal affairs violations found against Perry. TPD Detective Daniel Hill with the Professional Standards Bureau said prior to the incident, Perry had a clean record. He didn't have any disciplinary record to speak of, Hill claimed to the CRB. TPD responded to an email request for comment about the incident and asked that the statement be published as well. It was sent in its entirety. And this is the statement, people. Check this out. It says, it is understood by every member of this department that there are to treat others with dignity and respect. Yeah, right. Like our police departments in the United Shenanigans of America do that all the time. It says those who are unable to comply with this basic expectation have no place working as a public servant. Well, then you might as well fire 90% of the police departments throughout the country. It says in this case, the sustained violations made by the reserve officer would have resulted in his termination had he had not resigned during the investigation. The actions of the former, and you know why he did that, because he wanted to keep whatever little pension he probably had, and he did the smart thing, you know what I mean? But it says the actions of the former reserve officer are not indicative of the exemplary work being done daily by dedicated employees of the Tampa Police Department. Yeah, right. Rather, the actions of the officer who reported the unacceptable behavior more accurately reflects the fact that members of this department do not and will not tolerate the type of conduct demonstrated by the former reserve officer. At the time of the incident, Perry had served as a TPD officer for 22 years. Of course, he had a nice little pension there. He had recently partially retired, Hill told the CRB, but was serving as a part-time reserve officer at Tampa Walmart of Hillsborough Avenue, where the incident occurred. Oh, so he's good. Probably got a job in security, work part-time now with his pension. Perry was one of the several officers who arrested the person who was only named as Mr. Ford during the meeting. Ford was accused of shoplifting from the Walmart. He claimed that Ford had resisted arrest, and during the struggle is when Perry made several homophobic comments. When questioned by CRB members said they could not confirm if Ford identified as a member of the LGBTQ community and if that was the reason Perry had used the language toward him. See how they put that in there, right? United Shenanigans of America, baby. It says CL has made public records requests into the case in order to retrieve more information related to the incident. Several CRB members questioned Hill about his Tampa Police Department's process for bringing officers into the reserves. At the end of the meeting, a motion was passed unanimously to have TPD give the CRB an explainer of how the reserve officer program works. The news of the incident comes a week before Tampa City Council is set to decide on whether or not the CRB should be able to retain its own attorney and to subpoena its own evidence. Good. The CRB has been criticized for years for not having power to do anything other than review closed Tampa Police Department internal affair cases and ask questions about what happened, along with voting on whether they agree or disagree with Tampa Police Department's decision in disciplinary cases. I wonder how many cases where so-called white officers used excessive force and made racial slurs towards melanated brothers and sisters, right? But it says everything they review is based solely on claims and evidence presented by TPD itself, specifically the Internal Affairs Department. Last year alone, the department was involved in at least 19 scandals that the public knows of as violent crimes such as homicides surged in Tampa. The city is also currently under federal investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice. Interesting. For Tampa Police Department crime-free multi-housing program, which targeted mainly black renters for eviction. See what I'm talking about? This thing with racism, which is an illusion, is a big problem because people subscribe to it. And this thing where people think that they're better, it really stems from the foundation that white supremacy has placed in this country, which there is no such thing as white supremacy. They just make it real into your mind because there's nothing supreme about the European culture, okay? Keep that in mind. This thing is a sickness that has spread and is still infecting many minds like a virus of people around this country especially, but now has saturated other parts of the world as well. Now, the city is currently investigating them, right? The city's under investigation by the Department of Justice. So this year, the controversies are piling up again in July, where it says Tampa Police Department was caught using a spying tactic to pursue crimes. Critics called the tactic unconstitutional. In June, officers were also caught making fun of a dog shooting that occurred at the hands of the Tampa Police Department, and an officer accused his supervisor of imposing DUI quotas, leading to allegedly improper arrests. And you're going to see a lot of that last statement, because a lot of these police departments, due to the pandemic that happened and the lockdowns and all of that, it's continuing to have an effect on a lot of these municipalities, is that they're losing money, just like a lot of businesses are losing money. So that's why you have these supervisors imposing DUI quotas, and a lot of people are getting falsely arrested. Why? This is happening all over the country. It's a big problem. Just like it's happening here in the home area that I reside in the Tampa Bay area, is because they don't have money. So they're just trying to extract money from wherever they at. One of the things that I'm so grateful for is that I gave up my vehicle after I got into a car accident. I didn't claim the insurance money. I used the insurance money to pay off whatever money was left on my car loan. And I just decided, I said, you know what? I'm going to stop driving. Number one, I stopped driving, and let me tell you, it really gave me a lot of peace of mind. I didn't have that stress. Like, I really enjoy riding in an Uber or a Lyft, like, especially when it comes to riding. I just have that peace of mind of being in a ride and just think and be at peace, and I have to worry about me paying attention to the road. But also, the level of angry driving here, road rage, is it's pretty bad, man. And there's a lot of deaths that occur because of that. And furthermore, it's because of being harassed by the police. And I've been harassed by the police a couple times, but not that much. And one of the reasons why is because I used to drive around with a police plate that I got, which you can pay for, people. And I suggest that you do that. If you don't want to be harassed by the police, the best solution to create is that you are supportive of them. Because what happens when you buy those plates, it's a donation to their benevolent fund. So I used to have sheriff plate. And if I was to get another car in the future, that's what I would still do, no matter what state I'm in, whether I'm in New York, whether I'm in Florida, wherever. Do that, people, because what that does is it alleviates some of the tension of being harassed by an officer. I can't tell you how many times when I had that plate where I would have a sheriff that was about to pull me over for some bullshit. And I remember the first time when I first got the plates, and it was in Sarasota, Florida, and I was coming from a restaurant bar where I was watching a UFC event, and the UFC event ended at like 1:30. All right, and it was one of those like God, what is it called? Miller's Ale House. I really like going to those places to watch the UFC events back in the day, several years back. And I remember I was leaving. It's like 1:45 a.m. in the morning, and you could tell that this sheriff was just looking for anybody to pull over. So I'm driving, and I had some beer, but I wasn't intoxicated, right? Because I was there. I was at the ale house for a good 4 or 5 hours, and I only had several beers, but I had a lot of food. By the time I left, I was completely fine. Plus, where I drove to was literally less than 5 minutes from my house, literally. But just that little strip to my house to drive over, the sheriff came behind me, and once he saw the plates, what he did was he drove beside me, beeped this on, he went beep beep, and just made a U-turn because he saw the plates. And I was on the phone with a friend of mine because we was watching the event. He was watching it in New York. I was just on the phone talking about fights with him, and I was like, it's like, this can't make this up, but it was a good investment. So just something to think about, people, that if you want to kind of, especially if you're a melanated person like myself, if you're a so-called black or so-called brown person, or even if you're so-called consider yourself to be a white person of that social construct, I would say get it too, because it kind of, it kind of throws them off. You know what I mean? Not all of them, but most of them. And they look at that like, okay, he or she supports us, so why are we going to harass them, right? Let's think about that. So I hope that for anybody that's in the Florida area, I hope that you get some great substance from what I just read, and just, be aware of the sugar-coated society called United Shenanigans of America. One last thing, or two other things, actually. Let's talk about Caca 19 real quick. So a lot of things happening with Caca 19, and there's stuff about what's the verdict on ivermectin, and it says what to do if your child has a respiratory infection. So check this out, and I've talked about this before, right? It says what to do if your child has a respiratory infection. Our medical analysts explain. It says common respiratory infection, what is this called? Syncytial virus is surging. Keep this in mind, people. I did a whole show about this. Surging in the United States, leading to some children's hospitals being overwhelmed. The influenza virus is also on the rise, along with other viruses. And the reason why they're pushing this is because they want to push the science appliance, okay, onto these children. And if you don't know, a lot of children are not making it. A lot of children are passing away due to the science appliance. Now, along with viruses such as adenovirus and rhinovirus, what they cause the common cold. At the same time, children are back at school. Families are returning to many in-person activities without the mitigation measures applied during Caca 19, heightening the possibility for viral spread. Oh, wonderful. There are two major symptoms that should be prompt concern in respiratory infections: difficulty breathing and dehydration, says Dr. Linnea. It says, what kinds of respiratory infections can be treated at home, and with what treatment? Which symptoms should be prompted to call the doctor, or for parents and caregivers to bring their children to the hospital? When should children stay out of school, and what are the precautions families should take to reduce the spread of respiratory viruses? To help us with these questions and more, I spoke with CNN medical analyst Dr. Lena Wen, an emergency physician, public health expert, and a professor of health policies and management at the George Washington University Milken Institute School of Public Health. She is also the author of Blah, 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 Blah. Says Dr. Lena Wen, they have always been common among children. Before Caca 19, it was the norm, especially during the fall and winter, for school kids to have runny noses and cough. Now that they may be increasing in part because of the mitigation measures taken during the pandemic, like social distancing, masking, and avoiding large gatherings, resulted in fewer respiratory viruses being spread over the past 2 winters. As a result, a lot of kids don't have immunity that they normally would. People, if I ever heard a crock of caca, this is it. So now they may be increasing because of the mitigation measures they took during the pandemic, right? But also it says, my own kids have already had at least 3 bouts of respiratory respiratory illness each since they started back at kindergarten and preschool less than 2 months ago. Thankfully, they recovered well and did not severely get ill, but I certainly understand the worry and distress that parents and caregivers feel when our children are sick. And it says which respiratory infections can be dealt with at home. The vast majority of respiratory infections in children can be managed at home with fluids, fever-reducing medicines, and rest. What causing the infection generally not key determining factors in whether a child needs hospital care is how the child is doing. And brothers and sisters, especially the mothers and fathers out here, just use the holistic medicine. Use ginger root, with some honey and some lemon. Let your child's fever run. Because when I took a flight to New Orleans and I had this guy coughing on something awful, I wound up getting sick when I got back. And I haven't been sick in like 10 years, but I got sick because of these pathogens that are being passed on from the 72 toxin individuals from the Gaga 19, science appliance. But I just let my fever run, people. I let it run, and then I drank some tea and, some ginger and some other things that I took and some sea moss, but got to let that fever run because that's the body detoxing itself from the toxin. All right. So just be aware of that. I did cover that in a previous show that I did in regards to these respiratory things. And then, of course, these elections. Can I say, listen, I like some of the things that Ron DeSantis did here in Florida, especially when it comes to the pandemic. But at the end of the day, people, these are politicians. All right. And to the core of them, they're here as political acts and they really don't make or create any type of change. Now, the one thing I will say is that it's good that you have governors like this that are enforcing laws. But I said it before that he was going to run for president. I already knew it. I knew he's going to run for president. I think he still is. But at the end of the day, just because a man gets put into office doesn't mean that things are going to change because they are selected to do what they're supposed to. They do not run this country. They do not run the government. They have very little say. They are just puppets. They have somebody that has their hand behind their back telling them what to say. All right. It's the same thing with every other single president. And whenever a president gets out of line, like a John F. Kennedy, that wants to do things a little differently, oh, you best believe they're catching a bullet to the head. And you know what I'm saying? A lot of people think that they like to equate Trump to Kennedy. And I laugh at that because number one, Kennedy had a brain and knew how to use it. Trump doesn't have a brain and doesn't really know how to use it. A lot of people think he's smart. He's not really smart. He's just very narcissistic. And the reason why he gets so much support is because 90% of America is filled with narcissists. It's a big problem. So keep that in mind. When it comes to this sugar-coated society, people, it's really pathetic that you cannot speak your mind these days because you might offend somebody. People have become so sensitive to everything to where you can't say nothing to nobody. And the reason why they're doing this, the reason why this country or this corporation has become so sugar-coated with bullshit is because they really don't want the truth to prevail. Because what they're really censoring is the truth. What they're really sugarcoating is the truth with lies. Because that's what sugarcoating is, right? That's one thing that I never did growing up. I've always given to you straight. And that's one thing I like about New Yorkers is that we give it to you raw, uncut. Give it to you straight. Whether you like it or not, we're going to give you the truth and we're going to say it how we want to say it. And either you appreciate it or you don't. And a lot of people can't handle that for some reason. But like I always say, tough titty says the kitty, but the milk's still good over here, baby. Ain't nothing stopping that. I'd rather be told the truth than be told some sugar-coated truth. That beating around the bush bullshit. That beating around the bush bullshit can't exist no more. People, we're in a time right now where we're in the days of revelations and things are being revealed. So just like the Most High is revealing the truth, you need to reveal the truth. You need to speak the truth. Not just because it's the right thing to do, but it's good for yourself. Because when we start lying to ourselves and to others, we're only really lying to ourselves. And those lies catch up to us, people, in many, many ways. And I'm glad that a lot of lies that were being told to me in my personal relationships caught up with certain people, and I got to see it, and I was out of there, in a heartbeat, just like many of you have. But it's important because honesty really is the best policy. Being truthful is a great virtue to have. It's really good to be honest because it really is the best policy to have in life. And this sugar-coated society, when it comes to, the alphabet gang, when it comes to transgenderism, homophobia, these now with this anti-Semitic stuff. And it's funny how they talk about anti-Semitism, right? When it comes to Jewish people. And they're saying that Jewish people don't run the world or these institutions and media and Hollywood. But yet, look at what's happening. It's just proof of that. But there is a method to the madness. Do not think that these synagogue and these Jewish people don't have a lot of part in the manipulation and propaganda that is spewing out of Kanye West's mouth. They are the ones that told him to do that. This is a major distraction. And I'm going to tell you something. It's working because when I go to my social media handles, I'm seeing so many clips popping up in my feeds about this one particular topic. And it's a bunch of bullshit because the crazy part is that a lot of people that are subscribing to this bullshit are the very people that know that this man sold his soul for a Happy Meal and sold his mother out. They know that this man is part of a witch's coven through his wife. But yet now, because he's talking about so-called Negro and black people being the children of Israel, which many of us have known that for decades, now we're giving him a pass. And like, a lot of Christians are like, God forgives everybody. He's a Christian. It's like, no, he's not. But you see, people, I'm going to tell you something. For those of you that have been running with this, stop going along with this propaganda because that's all it is. It's meant to keep you distracted. And they're doing a great job because not only is everybody talking about it, but they're really believing that Kanye has turned to the truth side and that he's somehow this woke individual. And it's not the case, people. It's just this sugar-coated society that's using this particular interview and using this man who's so-called a celebrity, which I don't even like calling them because there's nothing to celebrate about these people. But he's using this man for some form of propaganda. And I'm telling you right now, mark my words, you heard it here on the Network of Awareness. Let's see what happens in January. Let's see what happens in February. Let's see where this all goes by next year. Let's see if he really uses his wealth. Because I'm going to tell you something. If there was really something rotten in Denmark and there was really something where he was really on this level of speaking truth, number one, he wouldn't have the money. The money that he had would be gone in a day. Number two, he'd be dead. Because once you make a pact with Satan, it's blood in and blood out, baby. All right? Especially as far as deep as he's gone with the amount of money that he's made due to his Luciferian allegiances. All right, people? So, brothers and sisters, I'm going to play a few songs to end the show out. I want to say peace, love, and light to you. I hope that this show made a little bit of sense today to you, or made a lot of sense. And I want to thank you for supporting the Network of Awareness. If you haven't, subscribe to my website. It's free. All you got to do is put in an email, and you can put in whatever first name you want. All right? You can put in Mr. T, FG, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Just subscribe and download the shows from networkofawareness.com or from your local, provider, which would be Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Spreaker, wherever you like to download my shows. I do live shows on Spreaker, so I always put the link in there when I do that or promote them on my social media handles. And speaking of social media handles, shout outs to all the people following me on TikTok. Greatly appreciate the growth. We've now hit over 5,000 likes, which is pretty great. Thank you for supporting, as well as Instagram. Steadily growing on Instagram. And of course, Twitter. Twitter's a finicky bunch when it comes to political correctness or incorrectness, but very interesting when it comes to the sugar-coated society. When it comes to Twitter, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Elon Musk takes over completely or, legitimately. But brothers and sisters, I want to thank everybody for supporting the Network of Awareness. NOA TV coming soon to a theater near you or to a Roku TV near you. And I'm going to put a blast out for that. We're going to do it right, people. And the other thing too is check out my YouTube page. It's or the Informationless Network of Awareness. That's my YouTube page or channel. And I'm really trying to build that up. This is the first YouTube channel that I have yet to have taken down. So that's a beautiful thing. I guess it's because of the cryptic language that I'm going to continue to use to keep this going. What I'm going to do too is I'm going to repost all my videos through my YouTube channel onto my website. I'm going to have my developers do that this week. And stay tuned for 2 more shows, people. I have 2 more shows coming out today. So this is just the first one. This is episode 87 of season 4, The Sugar-Coated Society Part 1. And then I'm going to have another show that's going to be published a little bit later in a couple of hours. And then I'm going to have another show that I'm going to do tonight. And I'm probably going to go live or do a pre-record. I'm not sure. It's going to be depending on what time I have and what I'm doing. But definitely 3 shows will be posted today just to make up for Tuesday, yesterday, and then, of course, the show that's scheduled for today. So I just want to say that when you live in the present, people, there's always an opportunity for a new beginning. Stay tuned. I'm going to play first song from The Free called Stick It to the Man, baby. And I'm also going to play a couple other songs too. So brothers and sisters, don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel. Understand that you are the light. You walk with the light. Spirit of the Most High is within you. So light up the tunnel and find your way through the darkness. No need to look for the light at the end, right? So brothers and sisters, peace, love, and light. Saw the Informationless signing out. Rakatah, and all praises to our great creator, the Most High, Yah Elohim. Let's go.
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness. To the Network of Awareness. To the Network of Awareness.
Stick it to the man, sticking to the man. Revolutionary, getting litty with the fan. Yeah, I be on my grizzy, getting busy for the plan. Ask me why I did it, yo, I did it cause I can't. Nothing gonna stop me, finna hit them till they can't take it anymore, they gon' give us all the man. Youth gon' rise up, sticking to the man. I'ma rage till I die, cause this is who I am. Get up out my way, I'm coming through with the squad. I could never lose, cause I'm moving with God. Fight the power, Mr. Man, gonna ruin us all. But there's too many of us, and we all true to the cause. Che Guevara in my starter, rage against the machine. Fight the power, take tomorrow back and wipe the slate clean. We ain't gon' cower to these cowards, we gon' stand for what's right. Get hype in this mug while we spreading the light. Where my soldiers at? Get it going, we gon' show them we ain't cheap. Yo, it's over, overthrow they ass. Let them know you mad, bring it to them right where they stay. Don't trip, take the chip, love wins at the end of the day. Sticking to the man, still sticking to the man. Revolutionary, getting litty with the fan. Yeah, I be on my grizzy, getting busy for the plan. Ask me why I did it, yo, I did it cause I can't. Nothing gonna stop me, finna hit them till they can't take it anymore, they gon' give us all the man. Youth gon' rise up, sticking to the man. I'ma rage till I die, cause this is who I am. Fat cats eating while the rest of us starve. We can't have that, fed up, get ready for war. Can't have fast revolution doing the most. We won't go quiet, don't listen to us, you told. We done playing with you, it ain't a game, yo, we making history. Read, baby, fuck the fame, I wanna change the system. Break your prison, got the key for the lock. Won't stop till we free and my people on top. On God, homie, is you really with us, so what? You bout make a decision, get busy living, so out for the real thing. You are what you do, who are you? I'm definitely and I kangaroo. Sticking to the man, still sticking to the man. Youth gon' rise up, sticking to the man. Youth gon' rise up, sticking to the man. Youth gon' rise up, sticking to the man. Run up in the Senate, niggas, hush. Think you getting over on us, but you not. The system has been rigged, the government's been bought. The house don't represent us, it represents the ops. Stand with standing by, take the man right out. God damn it, we ain't having what you handing out. We want clean air, clean food, water. A future for our kids, bitch, this a new order. Tear down the wall, love is for all. Death to the man in the system we call. Freedom ain't free if you can't breathe. Real people stay woke, we ain't gon' sleep. Get it crackin', packin' activism. A full clip, show them crackers we ain't having all that bullshit. The aristocracy is gonna share starting now. Stick it to the man, pull the trigger. Wow, stick it to the man. Stick it to the man. Stick it to the man. Stick it to the man.
Stick it to the motherfucking man.
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness. To the Network of Awareness. To the Network of Awareness.
How can you walk upright when your pants falling and you sipping on lean? Can't even go a day without Mary. Stuck in a web of dejection. Billboard stars twisting your conscience up like a wind-up toy. Got your daily problems all bottled, but you try to cap it with a pill. Reveling views for the thrill, and escape to remove from the real. Is it really cause you in peril, or is it mimic Hollywood? Please tell me. Sip after sip, snip after snip. You're killing yourself, can't see it's draining your soul and taking a toll. Don't take it from me, tell him JB.
My spirit was dead, clouded with haze. I was chasing the high, labyrinth mind, numbing the pain. Stuck in a cycle, I wish I had closed. I look at my wounds, open as torture, but it's too soon. Another excuse, I was addicted. Capital E, evicted out my own body, had no control. Passenger seat, I was out for a ride and I noticed that the ride won't end. Had to jump out that car, took a leap of faith. To attach, had me crash, got up leaning, and I got out scarred. Most I saved my life, he cut them demons down. He healed me all around. So I'ma tell you right now, this world ain't worth it, no. Those drugs ain't worth it, no. Don't lose your purpose, whoa.
Yes, I'm talking to you, children. Listen to your parents now while you have them. Especially hold fast to their words when they talking about Messiah. Consider this a warning now.
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness. To the Network of Awareness. To the Network of Awareness. To the Network of
It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. Don't cross that line or we gotta let the sword fly. It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. So don't cross that line when we gotta let the sword fly. All praises to the Most High. First off, I just want to say that every single day a blessing, so I'm really stepping, trying to find my way back. Counted the cost, repented of flaws, I'm trying to live. Yeah, the kingdom of heaven abroad. Have hope in my dreams, I pray I don't fall. I pray for the ones who is lost. I'm feeling the sorrow of times. I'm looking on up in the sky. I'm seeing a lot of the signs. It's either repent or you die. Cannot be walking two sides. Choose to stay who you ride for. Cemented in faith till I die. You don't really wanna fall off. Keep your head up. Keep my sword with me with armor. We won't let up. Sharpen up your brothers, others who we care for. Always shine the light for the Most High in Christ. It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyed. Don't cross that line or we gotta let the sword fly. It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. So don't cross that line when we gotta let the sword fly.
I wonder why we was created, but later I got my answers. Was searching scriptures daily, trying to get rid of this cancer, the spirit. Bear witness, I live these holy commandments. Repent, or you gon' perish. Destruction is way too scary. Every day I wake, I give all praises to the Most High. Living in this lie, learn the truth, or you gon' die. Ain't much time left, the Savior coming, looking to the sky. It ain't no disguise, gotta armor up my own mind. Gotta get it, spirit dripping, these gifts don't got no limits. I'm just wishing I could live in that holy kingdom with them. Focus on the mission, eyes locked in tunnel vision, no paganism. We truly follow Christ, that real Christian.
It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyed. Don't cross that line or we gotta let the sword fly. It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. So don't cross that line when we gotta let the sword fly.
All praise to the Most High. Repent and perish.
I made mistakes on purpose to divide the worth from the worthless. Reveal the facts to be certain. No pain, no gain in the verses. My faith been alive before churches, cause Yah is person on person. So I'm worried about complicated versions, cause the call to divine divergence. I'm still hurting, so searching, networking and murking. Anytime you can drop my curtain, with a spirit that city suburban. I'm seriously merging and physically working on my purpose to lyrically service the mental malnourished until I perish.
Yahweh's gonna save the awakened and take him to an ageless haven. Patient, I can't stray away, gotta keep obliterating the pavement. Still remember that day on the phone mark, he said, yo, don't you take your foot off the gas, always something to give y'all praises.
We're the dark oasis, for countless cases, a peak of faithless, I'ma need the patience, defeat them chases, we seek his graces, for true salvation, we keep on praising, we go on blazing these revelations, cease to hate, no altercations, good vibrations, we back to basics, to build foundation, y'all defeated Satan. I made mistakes on purpose, to divide the worth from the worthless, reveal the facts to be certain, no pain, no gain in the verses, my faith been alive before churches, cause Yah is person on person, so I'm worried about complicated versions, cause the call to divine divergence, I'm still hurting, soul searching, networking and murking, anytime they can drop my curtain, with a spirit that city suburban, I'm seriously merging, and physically working on my purpose, to lyrically service, the mental malnourished until I perish, people pursuing acts of violence, their persistent act of defiance, freely forming a righteous alliance, truly against the science appliance, on a mission with wisdom and guidance, steady defeating the ignorant science, sealing convicted and non-compliant, spiritual wars to move in silence.
Let's talk about what matters, drop the vanity, folks out here losing their sanity, kids popping off, lost in fantasies, people grieving over loss of family, the evil that be with the power, turning the people with credence to cowards, seeking to seize believers with vows, many even Stevie can see that it's foul.
I done made mistakes on purpose, to divide the worth from the worthless, reveal the facts to be certain, no pain, no gain in the verses, my faith been alive before churches, cause Yah is person on person, so I'm worried about complicated versions, cause the call to divine divergence, I'm still hurting, soul searching, networking and murking, anytime they can drop my curtain, with a spirit that city suburban, I'm seriously merging, and physically working on my purpose, to lyrically service, the mental malnourished until I perish.
Depression gone with every song, music led by another echelon,
to get you strong, keep pressing on, long after we dead and gone,
from dusk till dawn, we're righteously armed with spiritual lessons from Yah,
we where we belong, we keeping on, the righteous with third of Zion.
Records embellished with heavenly eloquence,
Elohim's presence presently evident,
intricate elements, infinite intelligence,
spiritual specimens lyrically resonant,
the gift was inheritance, smaller percentages,
carefully measured and meant to be shared,
with the message projected, cemented, embedded,
the sensible question is what will you give from it? I made mistakes on purpose, to divide the worth from the worthless, reveal the facts to be certain, no pain, no gain in the verses, my faith been alive before churches, cause Yah is person on person, so I'm worried about complicated versions, cause the call to divine divergence, I'm still hurting, soul searching, networking and murking, anytime they can drop my curtain, with a spirit that city suburban, I'm seriously merging, and physically working on my purpose, to lyrically service, the mental malnourished until I perish.
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness.
Down, 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 it all comes. Down, 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 it all comes. Down, 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 it goes all the way. It goes all the way. It goes all the way. Crashing down, crashing down. It all goes left before it goes right, but that's life, so you know how it goes, right? Tell you I done been through the mud and the dark nights. Always had a flow, but I've been through the bar fights. Not a big dog, but I got a big bite. Always been fly, I've been known to take flight. Learned all my lessons, never make mistakes twice. Never dim my shine, cause I've always been bright. Always been nice with the hands, so I know how to break a nigga down. Just in case a nigga come around, I'm ready. Once you get a nigga mental in that zone, I'm deadly. That's why I prefer to be left alone. You can't really tame a beast that is meant to roam feast, as long as my heart beats like a metronome. Graduated from the streets with a cap and gown. Even I know what goes up will come crashing down. Down, 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 it all comes. Down, 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 it all comes. Down, 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 it goes all the way. It goes all the way. It goes all the way. Crashing down, crashing down.
Have you hated or ever been hated on? Watch how I debate this while I go and play the song. Am I wrong or am I right? While I'm writing, see it was written. Ha, I knock him out like I was Tyson. Ain't no tie, son, I've been down. See, I've been spitting for a minute. I am different, I'm the one. They say I'm gifted. I just want the big money to go and match the lyrics. Ha, and then you crash, burn, feeling like life cheated you from your last turn. Feeling like I was a bad sperm from the ex, bugging with the heat, yeah, mash burn. They notice the way I talk. I think they really hate me cause they know I'm from New York. I adolescent and caught. I swear I made it a sport. A Bronx nigga for sure. Spiraling down, I fuck out of it.
Down, down, it all comes. Down, 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 it all comes. Down, 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 it goes all the way. It goes all the way. It goes all the way. Crashing down, crashing down.
This concludes the Network of Awareness podcast. For more information on the Network of Awareness, please subscribe via email to our website, networkofawareness.com, and follow us on Spreaker.com or any other listening apps you use. For any questions about the NOA, email us at aura@networkofawareness.com. Thank you for listening to one of the fastest growing podcast shows on society and culture in America and abroad. When you live in the present, there's always an opportunity for a new beginning. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings.